Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be talking about what's now Tropical Storm Nicholas that be moving up to the north, getting closer to southeastern Texas and southeastern Louisiana. I meant southwestern Louisiana. That could bring a lot of rain across those regions. We're also watching a disturbance just to the northeast of Puerto Rico that be continuing to move to the northeast. It may actually develop to something. It might bring some impacts across parts of the Mid-Atlantic and even North Carolina as well. We're also watching a decent tropical wave coming out of here as well. Still a lot of time to talk about that. Um, we also got Invest 93L, which the chances of development just dramatically decreased, which is some good news there. But this tropical wave that's out here will definitely be one to watch here over the next several days. We also got something to watch up here. You do see that area spin up there as well, but right now that has no threat to the United States as right now. And right now it's pretty active out there right now. So we're gonna get started with the infrared satellite imagery here, and again you got Tropical Storm Nicholas there. A lot of shower thunderstorm activity, and some of its outer bands is already made on shore to southeastern Texas and parts of Louisiana. Space circulation's like way right about in there, and you got showers of thunderstorms that's already up to on shore. And this thing here again is going to bring several inches of rain, which some places may get to double-digit rainfall totals. Then you also got this area to watch right in here. That'll be moving to the northeast. That may get better organized as it moves to the northwest, closer to the United States. So currently we got two systems that may pose a threat to it. Well, you do have Nicholas that has a guarantee to have a threat to southeastern Texas, southwestern Louisiana. But you also got this one here too. It's not named Invest yet, but I'm sure it will in the next couple of days here. But this may also pose a threat to the United States. It may have a chance to make landfall, or maybe just skip along the East Coast. We'll see what happens with that system there. You got this one here to watch here. We've got plenty of spin to work with there. Not really going to be much tropical there. Invest 93L getting very disorganized out there. Not a whole lot of shower thunderstorm activity now with that area. And there's quite a bit of dry air out there as well ahead of it. So it's not really going to survive too much longer. But you also got this tropical wave out here, which may become something big later on very soon. But hasn't gotten on to the main development region yet, so we're not going to talk too much about that as well. And here's the current National Hurricane Center outlook here. And you can see here, it's active. Let me tell you that much. You got Tropical Storm Nicholas here. Then you got this area here to watch here, which currently has a 50% chance of developing in the next 5 days. You also got this one right here that's got 20% chance of developing. I believe this one here is also 20% chance. Yes, it is. And we also got this one here, which I believe this is a 50 to 60% chance. It's a 60% chance of developing. And really the main ones we'll be watching this video here will be this one, Tropical Storm Nicholas. Those will probably be the main two, but we also got to watch this one here as well. I'm not worried about these systems right now. But we're going to get started with the one that's closer to home, Tropical Storm Nicholas. I know it says Tropical Storm 14, but it's actually Tropical Storm Nicholas. And then again, a lot of shower thunderstorm activity with this storm. This is the latest National Hurricane Center outlook here. This was issued as a tropical storm earlier this morning, and they do expect this to be maintained as a tropical storm. We do have tropical storm warnings for kind of long, even across parts of southern Texas already, and we got tropical storm watches all the way up to around the Houston Galveston area. And you do see here with the cone here, check this out. Could stay stationary up somewhere inland. If it stays stationary offshore, that'd be the worst case scenario with that. But if it stays stationary over land, that'd be the better case scenario. And the good news is, we do actually have some little better news with this system here, is that there is actually more wind shear forecasted than the last video. So there's actually more wind shear to work with, so that could trend this as a weaker system. Plus, there's a little bit more dry air to work with. When it gets on shore, I mean, when it gets closer to onshore or closer to landfall, I mean, the environment is much less favorable than where it is right now. Really, beyond this point here, it becomes less and less favorable as it gets closer to Texas. So it's going to be pretty limited on really gaining strength here. Despite of having very warm sea surface temperatures and also high ocean heat content, you got quite a bit of dry air and wind shear to work with out there. We'll check that out in a little bit. But here's the GFS ensemble thoughts here on the track here. And you do see here, the majority of models do bring it, actually make landfall into southeastern Texas as of right now. And you do see here the majority of the members here kind of stay stationary somewhere in eastern Texas as well. And you do have a few that do continue up to the northeast there, a little closer to the Ohio Valley region as well. That'd probably be the best case scenario. Continues to move to the northeast closer to the Ohio Valley, then stay stationary eastern Texas, which currently looks to be the current solution right now, is actually staying in eastern Texas. But that could change. Keep in mind that. Here's the hurricane model thoughts on Tropical Storm Nicholas. And you do see here, pretty similar to what the GFS almost had. You have most of the models here kind of keeping it stationary in eastern Texas, maybe into parts of Louisiana as well. And you also got a couple that do continue to move up to the northeast. Now, then again, the best case scenario is it continues to move up to the northeast. If it could get really latch onto that covert that'd be moving in from the northwest at that point. Now, I can't draw in here because this is Twitter. And for some reason, the hurricane models do not work on tropical tidbits, but hopefully that can get fixed very soon. So let's check out the wind shear here. So this is 200 to 80, 150 millibar wind shear. So this is kind of in the upper levels. So here's Tropical Storm Nicholas right here. Currently has winds, I believe, 45 miles per hour with a pressure of 1,007 millibars. And there's a decent amount of wind shear just off to the west here. Now the difference here between yesterday and today, models have been trending on a little bit more wind shear, and actually right now there's actually a little bit more wind shear than what some models are forecasting. So that's some better news right there. But either way, it's still going to bring a lot of rain. I mean, you've seen the infrared satellite imagery. We got showers of thunderstorms as far north as kind of along the east coast or the Gulf coastline of Texas and Louisiana. So there's still a lot of moisture out there, but there is some dry air nearby, especially out in Texas. There's actually quite a bit of dry air out there, with some of that's mixed in with the wildfire smoke as well, which is currently covering a good chunk of the eastern United States, even the central United States as well, which can affect the system here a little bit. That can act as a little bit more dry air to work with. But you do see how it continues up to the northeast here, and you do see here, there's a decent amount of wind shear out there, but I think the GFS may be a little bit underdone with the wind shear. Like I said earlier, it's a little bit underdone with the wind shear than what it is right now. There's actually stronger deep layer shear as of right now. But check out all this wind shear here over land. I mean, that could definitely shred the system apart. That's where it's going. And it does show intensifying a little bit here, down to 990 millibars. So that'll still be a tropical storm there. The chances of a hurricane with the system, in my opinion, is low. Just get the fact there's going to be some dry air and also quite a bit of wind shear. But you do see here, when it makes landfall, that wind shear really starts to take effect with Nicholas, and this can really shred this thing apart. Now, your main circulation may be right here, but most of your convection could be further out to the east here, especially when it gets over land. So, a lot of the models kind of keep the shower thunderstorm activity kind of around the main circulation, but whenever it gets over land, most of that convection will be misplaced further out to the east here. So that will definitely limit the potential for this tropical system. And you do see it does stay stationary here because there's not really much of any place for this thing here to go. You do have a trough moving in across the north here, but there's a little ridge nearby. So we're going to see what's going to happen here. Hopefully it can get latched onto that front that'll be passing through up there. This little trough that'll be moving in. Hopefully that'll be the best case scenario. Really the best case scenario is that the trough moves faster. If that's the case, there's a better opportunity that right about on time where this low is, it could get latched onto that front. So hopefully that'll be the case. But right now, it's looking to be staying stationary overland, but it'll still slowly die down over time. It ain't gonna be like it's gonna be there forever. It'll actually be dying down over time, since it'll be over land. Plus that with that wind shear, it's gonna displace all that convection further out to the east. So it won't really be around the main circulation at that point. Now at the same time, so now this is getting to early Thursday morning of next week. Well, actually later this week. Here's your other system we're watching for. Now it's definitely trended weaker than on its past runs here. With a 1012 millibar low, and this will be more of a close to a borderline tropical depression. But you do see where it goes here. It does get close to North Carolina. Really, the main threat of this system right now will probably be heavy rainfall, especially for far eastern North Carolina. But you do see where it kind of goes. Actually, it kind of goes up along the east coastline a little bit as well. So we'll watch for that system as well over the next couple of days here. But really, till it develops, that's what we'll probably have the better idea for this system as well. But you also do notice here, as we kind of back up here, there isn't too much wind shear to work with out there. There is some, but not too much. So we're going to see what's going to happen with that system there as well. Now this is your total perceivable water values, and you do see here there's quite a bit of moisture out there, but you also do notice here, like I said, over Texas, quite a bit of dry air to work with. That can really affect the system here, especially whenever it makes landfall, which you'll definitely see here. You can see here, as it starts to make landfall, check out the severed side here. It starts to get a little drier, so some of that dry air tries to get within the circulation of that system there when it starts to make landfall. You see whenever it makes landfall, you do see how some of that dry air really starts to try to kind of get into the system there. Another thing is that as we look into the perceivable water values, here's that tropical system we're watching there that could affect North Carolina, and here's a tropical wave out there that we're also watching for as well, right around the same time. It's much easier to look on perceivable water than wind shear. Definitely much easier. And then you do see here it kind of dies out a little bit. Now, a lot of its moisture is pretty much further to the east at this point, and you see here your main circulation is like into southwestern Louisiana, but most of your convection will be misplaced well far to the east from the main circulation with that stronger wind shear. Meanwhile, you got a tropical system trying to develop there, at least a tropical disturbance there, trying to develop to a tropical depression, but isn't too as successful by the GFS. And one thing's for certain is that there's not a whole lot of dry air to work with. There is some dry air when you get into Wednesday for out to the west there that could definitely limit its potential. You do see some of that trying to get into the circulation there. So that may actually limit the potential for that tropical disturbance as well. But you do see as it gets closer to North Carolina, some of that dry air does get cut off by some more moisture. So it may try to intensify a little bit better before it makes or it gets near landfall as well, or may not actually make landfall at all actually on that as well. And do you see this tropical wave that has a pretty decent probability of developing right here? And right now this is one of the weakest out of model guidance as of right now. You do see here it does really stick around out there for a while, but you do see how it continues to move up to the north as well. And there's also another system. Now, this is getting very far out, 318 hours out. This is very far out, likely going to change. But it does show a pretty good system out there in the Atlantic as well. But then again, like I was saying, for that wildfire smoke, here it is right here. Again, a good chunk of the central eastern United States currently dealing with that wildfire smoke. Now, really the only effects here with this wildfire smoke is really the visibility. Also cools down temperatures a little bit as well. So the models will be a little bit overdone with those temperatures out there. So they can't really see the wildfire smoke on the weather models. So they'll be overdone with the temperatures. But you do see here there is a blob of wildfire smoke, which can act as of dry air in the atmosphere. But right now, on the southeast coast of Texas and parts of Louisiana, there's no smoke out there, so there's no dry air out there as of right now. But models do indicate there'll be some dry air trying to kick in with here kick into the system here, which probably this part of dry out here in New Mexico may try to affect the system a little bit. So it's definitely something we'll be watching here over the next couple days. So definitely be interesting. So what the other model's thoughts are on this, and this is the Canadian model, and it's a little farther west than what some of the other models have shown there. It does make landfall kind of on the border of Mexico and Texas. It doesn't really show us much of a big rainmaker. Probably tell when it gets to Houston and Galveston area. With that sharp wind shear, your main circulation is right here. You can see here, most of your convection is well misplaced further to the east. So really anybody east of the track of this low pressure system really has a better opportunity to see a lot of rain than kind of going along here. Now, at the first place, where there's not much wind shear to work with, a lot of your rain will be kind of around the main circulation. But later on in the future, where there is stronger wind shear forecasted, most of that convection will be misplaced further to the east. You do see there, pretty much goes away at that point. But the Canadian model shows a much weaker system at that point. Here's the icon model for a preference, and it does show a lot of convection for out on the eastern side of that tropical system, but it doesn't really show a bunch of development into that system either. So, but that probably an outlier. We also do see here later on down the road, here's your other tropical system we're watching for out here as well. And it also shows a much weaker system, but it's also pretty far to the east as well. So we'll still watch for that system as well. We'll wait on that in a little bit, but let's check out the European model's preference, and it's weaker than what it actually is. So, and you do see here as it continues to move to the north here, it also makes landfall in Mexico and Texas, and you do see here most of the hurricane models do not really make landfall. It does get pretty close, but doesn't really get quite on landfall. But we may have to watch it. And maybe it's first landfall here before the secondary landfall, because I think it will get back over the warm waters again later on down the road. But this show, the European model does show at this point here a weak tropical storm, kind of makes landfall. And at this point here, about 1 o'clock in the morning, or Monday night, it'll be at Corpus Christi, and you do see here with sustained winds of 42 miles per hour, but you do see the wind gusts could be as high as 63 miles per hour. But you want to at least check out the winds, sustained winds. That's where you kind of get your winds from, not the wind gust. But you do see here how it makes landfall here. We'll switch over to precipitation. You do see here on the eastern side here, that's where a lot of rainfall is going to be. Especially when you get later today on Thursday. Some of its remains could be as far east as southeastern Louisiana, even though your main circulation is all the way back into Houston. So a lot of that convection would likely be misplaced further to the east. And you can see there, it kind of sits there until it really dissipates at that point. But here's the rainfall for the next 10 days. It really, this regardless of development, even if it's either a tropical depression, tropical storm, maybe even a hurricane, it's still going to bring a lot of rain. And the European model is pretty aggressive with this here. It's got some places getting near 2 feet of rain. It's maybe a little bit of overkill, especially given the factor with that stronger wind shear. A lot of this will be further to the east here, especially when it gets closer to southeastern Texas over time. That convection will start to slowly move away from the main circulation further to the east over time as well. So this may be a little bit of an overkill in my opinion, but I would not be surprised to see areas that get a foot of rain, maybe a little bit more than a foot of rain. But I have some doubts of seeing 2 feet of rain out of the system here. But either way, it's still a lot of rain. But you also do see here, you do get the double-digit values pretty far to the east as well, even across most of southwestern Louisiana, even into southeastern Louisiana, where they do not need any rain right now. European model is currently forecasting around 5 to 6 inches of rain for those areas. Here's the GFS model here, and it shows much less than rainfall totals, but it's typically underdone with its rainfall totals. But either way, it still shows a lot of rain, has a widespread 7 to 9 inches of rain across these regions. It actually has some places up to 11 inches of rain as well, which seems fairly realistic in my opinion. But you do see some of its remains do actually move a little further up to the northeast as well, moving into Mississippi and Alabama. But that may be a little bit of an outlier for right now. And then as we look into the icon model for the next 5 days, it's not really that impressive with rainfall. Plus, it does show this thing really developing too much of anything. But either way, if anybody lives really anywhere from Corpus Christi up to Lake Jackson, Houston area, and Galveston area, uh, Beaumont, Lake Charles, Lafayette, Louisiana, those would be the areas I would monitor here for a lot of rainfall, especially around the Houston, Galveston, Lake Jackson, and Beaumont areas. That's probably where I'm indicating where most of the rainfall will be. Maybe a little further to the east as well to parts of southwestern Louisiana. I think there's going to be a widespread, um, I would say probably 8 to 10 inches of rain, with some places that could see 12 inches of rain, maybe a little bit more than that. But I think there's going to be a widespread 8 to 10 inches of rain from Tropical Storm Nicholas as well. Something I forgot to look into here is some of these other things here, like storm surge out of Tropical Storm Nicholas. It's not really going to be that impressive here at all, really, from the mouth of the Rio Grande all the way up to High Island. That's where we're going to see storm surge of 2 to 4 feet, which isn't too big of a deal. But the rainfall potential for the Weather Prediction Center, and you do see it really for Corpus Christi, all the way up into south central Louisiana, could be anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of rain, where some other places have the opportunity to see over 10 inches of rain as well. So then again, a lot of rain is going to be coming. So really, anybody in the orange and red colors need to be prepared for a lot of rainfall. I'm not really worried about the winds right now with this system here, since that's going to be very limited. But the rainfall potential is definitely going to be there, and some of this flooding here could be significant across some of these regions here as well. And here's your wind probabilities as well. This is your tropical storm wind probabilities, and you do see a really areas in the orange and the yellow colors here. That's probably where we'll see the better opportunity for some tropical storm winds. Although this will probably get increased over time here with better confidence in the forecast. So really, some of these places here have the opportunity to see some tropical storm force winds, which is winds 40 miles per hour or stronger. Here's your flash flood potential for the Weather Prediction. So this is your excessive rainfall outlook. Currently, they have a slight risk, but don't be too surprised if they issue a moderate risk, especially on day 3 across parts of really these areas right in here. If they're going to add moderate risk, it probably somewhere in that area in there as well. But then again, anybody that lives in southeastern Texas, southwestern Louisiana, definitely needs to watch this system here over the next couple of days. And like I mentioned here, with those warm temperatures and ocean heat content, you can see with the ocean heat content, there's a lot out there as well. But then again, there's some wind shear and dry air to work with as well. But also talk about the other potential tropical disturbance. There is some ocean heat content to work with out there, so there's still some to use out there. Plus, with that other tropical wave out there, which is going to be taking a general direction, something like probably in this general zone it here. There's actually some ocean heat content out there to use. And then as you look to sea surface temperatures, now these are compared to normal. Some of your most warmest, well, not to put it that way, but there is above normal sea surface temperatures just off the coast of southeastern Texas. But also with that other system where it's going, it's actually pretty well above normal out there as well. Here's the actual temperatures, and really, some of your warmest sea surface temperatures out there right now is actually where Tropical Storm Nicholas is going to go. So despite with sea, very warm sea surface temperatures and high ocean heat content, there's still going to be, again, wind shear and dry air to work with, which will really limit it here. So this is going to be a pretty unpredictable system here. And also talk about the other disturbance out here. It's also going to be a pretty favorable environment out there as well. But then again, there is a little bit of wind shear and dry air to work with for both of these systems. So these systems probably be a little bit unpredictable. But we'll see who wins though with this battle here over the next couple days. Here should be very interesting. But anyways, guys, this is all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you're new on my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys questions. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.